Erupted on Delhi streets today that saw the Indian capital rocked by protests and clashes. What was the epicenter of the protests in Delhi? The route to the Indian Parliament. This is how the day panned out in the national capital today. Thousands of protesters, as you can see, taking to the streets of Delhi, upping the ante against the government. The protesters were spread out on the route to the Indian Parliament, with clashes reported between the protesters and the security forces, and the situation on the ground through the day turning increasingly volatile. Multiple security barricades near the Parliament complex. What have these protesters been demanding is the immediate question. Let's lay it out for you. What are they saying? They are basically demanding sweeping reforms to the country's education system. They're also protesting against the paper leaks that happened. The protesters basically are also demanding the immediate release of the activist Sonam Wangchuk. Remember those hunger strike images that we've been getting to you as well. The resignation of the education minister is also on that list of demands. The education minister, Dharmendra Pradhan. Not just that, they're also demanding 1 crore compensation for the NEET UG aspirants who died by suicide. That's just a summary of what the demands laid out have been, essentially. Now, protesters tried to break through the police barricades in order to try and reach the parliament to make their voice heard. The demonstration called by the Cockroach Janata Party, CJP, saw thousands on the streets attempting to march towards the parliament. Earlier in the day, the security forces also stopped the procession outside the Sansad Marg police station, where the tensions escalated as the protesters pushed against the police barricades. Security forces also used batons and fired tear gas to disperse sections of the crowd after protesters attempted to breach the security cordon. Scuffles between protesters and the police were reported at several points. The anger has been palpable and people have been voicing how they feel, with some questioning why it took the government this long to even try to engage. All these days of that protest, the demands have been loud and clear. Let's just take you beyond the headlines and those visuals that we've been getting to you. Here's the bigger picture and a key message. The government should realize that the message here is way more important than the messenger. And also, the messenger here, by the way, is the youth of the country, the future of India. They should have been heard, no doubt about that. They are absolutely right when they express their concern over the functioning of the education system. That's what the students have been talking about. The sense of defeat, in a way, was also building up for all this while. The outpouring that we've seen on the streets, also a result of the belief that the government was not engaging and not listening to what these people had to say. The people felt taking to the streets was the answer. Even if there was any doubt on the affiliation of any CJP member or organization overall, the issue here is of utmost significance, and that's what matters and has mattered. Another key question being raised, so was all of this avoidable then? Could all the mayhem that we have been witnessing, the anger on the streets, was all of this preventable? Let's just play out for you these voices from on the ground. What have the protesters been saying? Listen to this.
The reason me and my friends are here is because we are the ones who have put government on the seat that they have. And if they feel like they're not accountable, not just for leak per se, this is the main motive we have right now, but in the due course, if there is a fee.
We are gathered here because we are expecting a better education system out of this government, and we also want some accountability for whatever has happened with the paper.
Earlier today, members of the Cockroach Janata Party, CJP, met the Union Minister J.P. Nadda with their demands, and after the meeting, the minister made an appeal to the protesters to end their protest. In fact, the CJP chief spokesperson has said that after the meeting that the CJP has submitted a written letter with their demands, and J.P. Nadda assured them that he will speak internally. The Delhi police earlier said that no permission had been sought or granted for any proposed march to the parliament, and advised the citizens not to participate in any unauthorized gathering or procession. In fact, later in the day, the Delhi police also issued this statement. I'm quoting from it. Delhi police appeals to all protesters to maintain peace, exercise restraint, and cooperate with the police in ensuring peace and public order. All participants are requested to conduct themselves in a peaceful manner, refrain from indulging in any unlawful or violent activities, and comply with the lawful directions issued by the police officers or the personnel deployed on duty. And then the other key question, where do things go from here onwards? While this is what the scenes have looked like outside the Indian Parliament, inside the Parliament, the opening day of the monsoon session witnessed heavy sloganeering, protests by the opposition MPs. The leader of opposition in the Rajya Sabha also raised the NEET UG 2026 paper leak issue, saying that it concerns the future of lakhs of students. Remember, ahead of the monsoon session, Prime Minister Modi also said the session should run smoothly. He said every voice should get an opportunity to be heard, stressing that where there are facts, there is no need for chaos, quote unquote. The opposition, meanwhile, has said it wants to hold the Modi government accountable on issues including alleged irregularities in the Ram Mandir donations, examination paper leak issue, and other matters. It's a major test for the government overall. Where do things go from here? Outside and inside the parliament? A lot depends on the answer to that question. Shifting focus now to West Asia, the region remains on the boil. The US conducted strikes on Iran for the 9th consecutive day. This was followed by a fierce retaliation by Iran, even as the Iranian president, Masoud Pezeshkian, stresses that his country was fighting a full-scale war with the US. Interestingly, and very intriguingly, both sides hinting at pursuing talks as well. Let's just get you up to speed with what's been happening on the ground first, before we take you beyond the headlines. In a whole new escalation, Yemen's Iran-backed Houthis announced a maritime embargo of Saudi Arabia. Last week, hostilities between the two sides, remember, escalated after the Houthis accused Riyadh of launching airstrikes against the international airport in Sana'a. And in retaliation, it fired missiles at the international airport in Saudi Arabia. A closure of the Bab el-Mandeb Strait by the Houthis, the threats around it, will imply a new threat to the energy supplies as well, as nearly 7% of global crude oil transits that narrow corridor.
First, the Yemeni armed forces declare a maritime embargo against the criminal Saudi enemy based on the equation of an eye for an eye, effective immediately upon the issuance of this statement.
In fact, a few hours earlier, CENTCOM conducted airstrikes on Iran to diminish its ability to attack vessels in the Strait of Hormuz, according to them. America, in fact, claimed to have targeted Iranian military command centers, air defense and coastal surveillance sites, and communication networks. As per the US president, these strikes were carried out in honor of the US military personnel killed in recent days. The way things stand, the death toll of the confirmed American fatalities in the Iran war is 17, reportedly. And while we piece together what all unfolded, Iran retaliated by striking Syria once again. In fact, the IRGC claimed to have struck the Special Operations Command Center in the Al-Tanf region. It also targeted US military aircraft stationed at Jordan's airport, with ballistic missiles reportedly causing damage to a number of jets, as claimed. Kuwait also bore the brunt of multiple attacks. Iran not only claimed to have completely destroyed an early warning radar system, but also struck an MQ-9 drone hangar, allegedly, at the airbase there, reportedly setting several drones on fire, as claimed. Explosions were also heard in other parts. As per the local authorities, Iranian drones targeted Bahrain's civil air navigation systems, reportedly. That's not even all. Iran claimed to have shot down an MQ-9 Reaper drone over the city of Ahvaz. Let's just tell you more about the geography we are talking about. The footage released by the IRGC of its attacks in West Asia also showed missiles bearing the message saying anyone who destabilizes the security of the Iranian people will not themselves be safe either. Meanwhile, air raid sirens sounded in Kuwait City as residents and visitors continued moving through the area. Kuwait's military stated that it was responding to a fresh round of missiles and drones unleashed by Iran. Iran also announced that 2 oil tankers which attempted to enter and exit the Strait of Hormuz through an unsafe and hazardous route reportedly exploded and were brought to a halt. The IRGC has warned that the strategic waterway will remain unsafe for transit for even a single drop of oil and gas, as long as America's quote-unquote aggression continued. At the same time, Iran revealed that diplomatic exchanges with the US via mediators were ongoing. As per Reuters, mediators have proposed a 10-day cessation of strikes to revive the MOU that was signed by Iran and America. Listen to this.
Proposals have been put forward and conveyed to us by the mediators. We have received them, but please excuse me from going into their details. However, the main point that the diplomatic apparatus has been active and that ideas from some mediators have reached us is confirmed.
And just for more context here, a day earlier, the US Secretary of State also showed America's willingness for a diplomatic settlement, even as he called upon other countries to join efforts to protest the safety of vessels in the Strait of Hormuz. So this is key messaging, but a number of questions still remain. Are the latest US attacks a precursor to a possible ground invasion? Let's tell you why this question comes up. As per reports, Donald Trump is leaning towards further expanding the US military operations as far as Iran is concerned. What are the options? They reportedly include sending ground forces to seize Iranian islands near Hormuz, like Kark, which, remember, handles 90% of Iran's crude oil exports. The other option being considered reportedly, let's break it down. It's the potential bombing of what's called the Pickaxe Mountain. That's where it is located. Just to help you understand the geography of the area. The Pickaxe Mountain, something that Trump has been publicly talking about as well. Now, this highly fortified site is located about 220 kilometers south of Tehran, as you can see. And it's very close to the nuclear complex in Natanz as well, which, remember, was bombed during last year's 12-day war. As per reports, it contains 2 tunnel complexes buried deep underground, which makes it difficult to destroy. US reportedly suspects Iran of trying to build a secret uranium enrichment facility here. And it's worth noting that Tehran and Washington have been at loggerheads over how to actually deal with Iran's stockpile of enriched uranium. Remember, that's been the core concern here. And when asked about a potential US ground invasion as well, Iran issued a stern warning to America. It also urged the UN nuclear watchdog, IAEA, to condemn the US strikes on the under-construction nuclear power plant in southwest Iran. Here's what was said.
They will see the consequences. I think there are people in those regions, and their number is not small, and they are looking forward to welcoming those guys.
With both sides essentially keeping the diplomatic option open, as they say, is a temporary halt in hostilities on the horizon? Or are the differences too difficult to break through? America and Iran's future course of action, the next moves, will be very closely watched. Shifting focus to the other key development we are tracking. Russia has unleashed one of its biggest missile assaults of the war. Ukraine is hitting back deep inside Russian territory. But then behind the front lines, Kiev is also facing another battle. A growing number of Ukrainians no longer want to fight. As missile barrages intensify, Ukraine's manpower crisis is becoming impossible to ignore, it seems. Take a look.
Russia launched one of its largest missile and drone attacks since the war began. Ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and hundreds of drones rained down across Ukraine. On Sunday, Kyiv came under heavy bombardment. Air defenses worked through the night. Explosions echoed from one region after another. Before Ukraine could recover, Russia struck again on Monday, hitting the Black Sea port of Odessa. Ukraine said the missile attack on a civilian grain vessel killed at least 10 people and wounded several others. Once again underlining Moscow's ability to sustain relentless long-range strikes. Yet Ukraine is not standing still. Kyiv says its long-range drones have struck military and industrial targets inside Russia, including facilities linked to Moscow's defense sector. Ukrainian forces continue to demonstrate they can reach deep behind enemy lines, even as Russian attacks intensify. But there is a growing problem that missiles cannot solve. Ukraine is running short of willing soldiers. Across the country, military recruitment teams are facing increasing hostility. According to Ukraine's national police, more than 600 assaults on recruitment officers have already been recorded, with officials warning that attacks are becoming more frequent and increasingly dangerous. Many Ukrainians say they are terrified of being sent to the front. Military commanders insist fresh troops are essential to holding defensive lines against Russia's relentless offensive. But every new wave of mobilization is becoming more difficult than the last. Ukraine now faces a brutal reality. It must keep fighting one of the world's largest armies while convincing exhausted civilians to join a war that has already entered its 5th year. Russia is escalating from the air, Ukraine is striking back across the border, but the battle for manpower may become Kyiv's toughest fight yet. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
And it's now time to take you through the key global headlines from around the world at this hour, taking you around the world in 120 seconds.
Yemen's Houthis have announced they are imposing a maritime embargo against Saudi Arabia in response for a recent attack on Sana'a airport. Houthis say the maritime ban against Saudi Arabia will be effective immediately. Britain's new Prime Minister Andy Burnham arrived at number 10 to roaring cheers and applause from his supporters. Burnham, UK's 7th Prime Minister in a decade, promised political stability for Britain as he thanked supporters. US has accused Cuban spies of infiltrating the highest levels of government. State Department report alleges that Cuba has recruited and cultivated generations of American activists and backed an unprecedented wave of left-wing terrorism on American soil. Anti-government protesters hurled eggs at cars carrying Albanian lawmakers, demanding changes to laws that allow private investors to build tourist resorts in protected areas. The luxury resort planned by Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner. President Draupadi Murmu arrived in Chisinau, Moldova, a historic state visit. This marks the first ever visit by an Indian head of state to Moldova. It is the first leg of her three-nation European tour. 7 people were killed in a fresh landslide triggered by heavy rains in Poonch district in Jammu and Kashmir, adding to the devastation caused by relentless rainfall across the region. The newly crowned world champions Spain arrived in Madrid. Captain Rodri and head coach Luis de la Fuente led the victorious team. De la Fuente's boys will meet the King of Spain, followed by a parade in Madrid.
Well, brute force has been Pakistan Army Chief Asim Munir's go-to approach to deal with dissent. The internal turmoil on the ground is only deepening, with Islamabad facing different types of crises on 4 fronts. Can it really avoid another 1971 when East Pakistan seceded from Pakistan to become the independent country of Bangladesh? Afghanistan's former vice president, who has been a vocal critic of the Pakistani military's policies, stirred up a hornet's nest recently. With this rather cryptic post, he said, I'm quoting, "There are preliminary signs that a new country will be born in our region. Guess its name," quote unquote. While he did not identify which territory he was referring to, his comment coming at a very significant time when Pakistan-occupied Kashmir and Balochistan have seen growing calls for freedom. In Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, thousands of supporters of the civil society group JAAC have been on a sit-in since the 9th of June. We've been telling you about this. The protests were originally ignited by that ban on JAAC, which basically put forth 38 demands, including the abolition of 12 seats in the so-called Legislative Assembly, which are dominated by Pakistanis. But then the movement has also grown bigger. And in a big embarrassment for the Munir-led military establishment, POK has been seeing slogans seeking freedom from Pakistan. Protesters have clearly earmarked the Pakistani government and military as quote-unquote illegal occupiers. And with the protesters warning of a long march to Muzaffarabad, if the Pakistan government does not fulfill their demands, an additional 8,000 rangers and heavy weaponry reportedly have been deployed in POK after 9 people were killed as Munir's forces opened fire on innocent civilians. The UN has stepped in as well, calling for an impartial probe into the killings in POK. Listen to this.
Some of the group's leaders have subsequently been arrested. The criminalisation of a civil society organisation and imposition of strict limitations on gatherings raise serious concerns about infringements on the rights to freedom of expression, peaceful assembly and association.
Let's also tell you about what's happening as far as Balochistan is concerned. Remember, it accounts for nearly 44% of Pakistan's area. And there, the situation is no better. As per human rights activist Mir Baloch rebels now control 85% of Balochistan's territory and are ready to throw out Munir's forces by the end of this year. The Baloch Liberation Army, meanwhile, has stepped up its attacks since January this year by targeting Munir's forces. Early this month itself, at least 42 people, most of whom were security personnel, were killed in 3 attacks by the Baloch. In subsequent operations, in fact, the Pakistan forces claim to have killed 129 militants. As per the South Asia Terrorism Portal, 532 Pakistan security personnel have lost their lives in Balochistan this year. On the other hand, the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan continues to pose a major challenge in the neighboring Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province. Attacks and targeted killings are on the rise, reportedly. On the 15th of July, for example, 3 policemen were killed and at least 20 others were injured when militants ambushed a security convoy and carried out a suicide attack on a police station. Pakistan claimed to have killed 24 militants thereafter in a series of operations. Now, the Jamaat-Ulema-e-Islam chief Fazlur Rahman also seems to have read the writing on the wall. A politically ambitious cleric who has often picked a side based on the on-ground situation and sentiment in a way, Rahman has been taking on the military in the last few months itself. Addressing a lawyers' convention in Islamabad, he exposed how Pakistan does not honor its own soldiers.
कि तुम्हारे नजर में अपने शहीद की क्या कदर और कीमत है, क्या बता सकते हो? आज तक कौम को तुमने बताया कि कारगिल में आपके कितने जवान शहीद हुए और आपने वहां से कितने शुहदा के जनाजे वसूल किए, जरा बताओ तो सही.
That's not all. The veteran politician also flagged how Pakistan had increasingly become isolated because of its tensions on its borders.
पाकिस्तान की सरहद बंद है, अफगानिस्तान की सरहद बंद है, चीन आपके साथ कारोबार करने के लिए तैयार नहीं है.
Remember, the Afghanistan front is particularly on the boil after Pakistan escalated hostilities with the Afghan Taliban in February this year by conducting those airstrikes on alleged TTP camps in Afghanistan's Nangarhar and Paktika province. And this led to a series of attacks and counterattacks by the two sides. While it remains to be seen whether Amrullah Saleh's prediction comes true, it's increasingly clear at this point that Pakistan is confronting a rather uncomfortable security situation. It's a nightmare which continues to play out. Time now for a Gravitas special report. As the AI race heats up, is the future of AI in the hands of China now and not America? Chinese AI startup Moonshot is preparing for a Hong Kong stock market listing as early as the next 6 months following a major breakthrough with its latest AI model. Let's break it down. According to a report by Bloomberg, the company is aiming to capitalize on growing investor interest, reportedly, as China's industry continues to close the gap with leading US developers. The report also saying Moonshot has distributed a shareholder resolution seeking approval to proceed with a Hong Kong initial public offering. And this process suggests the company could go public within the next 6 months itself. Moonshot reportedly is also finalizing a fundraising round that could value the 3-year-old company at more than $30 billion reportedly. The company decided the timing was right after its annual recurring revenue reached $300 million in the month of June, up from $200 million just 2 months earlier. So it's been quite a journey already. In fact, the listing plan follows the launch of Moonshot's new open weight AI model. Open weight models basically make their parameters available, allowing the developers essentially to download, customize, build on the technology. Moonshot has said the model outperforms most leading AI models, with only Anthropic's Claude, Fable 5 and OpenAI's GPT 5.6 ranking higher in the overall performance. Independent AI benchmarking firm Artificial Analysis also ranked the model ahead of Anthropic's Opus 4.8 on some frontier tests, making it the first Chinese open weight model to achieve that major milestone. In 2023, by former Google and Meta researcher, Moonshot has emerged as one of China's fastest growing AI startups. Chinese AI developers have gained global attention by offering powerful models at significantly lower prices than many of their US rivals, helping challenge the dominance of American AI firms as well. And a comparison of API pricing showing DeepSeek, Qwen, other Chinese models typically priced well below leading models from OpenAI, Anthropic, Google. Lower usage costs reportedly have helped the Chinese developers attract enterprise customers and accelerate AI adoption, both at home as well as overseas. However, Moonshot is taking a rather different approach, pricing its latest model closer to premium US offerings, as it bets customers are willing to pay more for higher performance. Shifting focus now to South India. Andhra Pradesh has sounded a new COVID-19 alert across all districts after an Omicron subvariant was detected in samples from Kadapa. 4 COVID-related fatalities have been reported in the latest spell, but officials say all 4 patients had severe pre-existing health conditions. Let's just tell you more about what's being called this latest subvariant. It's a naturally evolved sublineage of the Omicron variant of the coronavirus. In fact, the variant has seen a rise in some parts of Southeast Asia, including Singapore. But the World Health Organization continues to keep it under routine genomic surveillance. Symptoms include sore throat, cough, fever, headache, runny nose, fatigue, body ache. And according to the Indian Medical Association, the current variant appears mild among healthy individuals, but elderly people and those with serious comorbidities need to remain cautious. Meanwhile, doctors have advised people to follow basic precautions like staying hydrated, taking warm fluids, maintaining a balanced diet during recovery. They've also advised wearing a mask and avoiding crowded places when the symptoms appear. A high-level review meeting was held on Sunday itself to assess preparedness in the state. Rapid response teams at the state and district levels are monitoring the trends, and the health workers are running awareness campaigns as well to try and limit transmission. Meanwhile, authorities have stocked up on essential supplies, including RT-PCR kits, rapid test kits, PPE equipment, critical medicines as well. Shifting focus, US President Donald Trump says the Qatari-donated Boeing 747, now servicing as the Air Force One, is set for what he calls maxed out upgrades after mounting questions over whether the aircraft actually matches the defensive capabilities of the traditional presidential fleet. Speaking at the Joint Base Andrews before leaving Washington, President Trump said the aircraft will be taken out of service for about a month to undergo additional modifications, adding that he will return to flying on one of the older Air Force One jets until the upgraded aircraft is back in service. The president did not quite disclose the specific enhancements planned for the aircraft, but his comments came in response to reports suggesting the jet may lack some of the sophisticated security systems found on the current Air Force One fleet, including advanced missile defense technology and other classified protective measures. Trump insisted the aircraft would be fully equipped before returning to service, saying it would be maxed out. The jet, donated by Qatar, entered presidential service earlier this month, remember, after being modified for government use. The aircraft is serving as a temporary replacement while Boeing continues work on the long-delayed next-generation Air Force One program, which has faced years of production setbacks, technical challenges and billions of dollars in cost overruns as well. The new aircraft are now expected to enter service in 2028. The use of the Qatari aircraft has also drawn political scrutiny from critics who have questioned both the acceptance of the foreign-donated jet and the pace at which it was prepared for presidential travel. The White House has maintained that the aircraft meets operational requirements and says the latest upgrades will further strengthen its capabilities. Moving on, from checkmating the world's greatest chess players to a possible move into the presidential palace, Hungary may soon have a chess legend as its next head of state. In fact, the Prime Minister there has proposed an unexpected name to become the country's next president, who could be someone who spent a lifetime mastering the art of strategy. Magyar has announced that he will be asking the chess legend Judith Polgár to become Hungary's next president, calling her a symbol of national unity. Also saying that he will formally meet her to seek her approval for the largely ceremonial role. The announcement also coming just days after Hungary's parliament, remember, passed a constitutional amendment ending the president's term in office. The move is part of the Prime Minister's wider effort to dismantle the political legacy of the former leader Viktor Orban after his sweeping election victory early this year. With a two-thirds majority in parliament, Magyar's party now has the numbers to elect the country's next president. And few names carry as much respect as the chess legend. Widely regarded as the greatest female chess player in history in a way, she broke barriers in her male-dominated sport, essentially becoming the only woman ever to cross the elite 2700 Super Grandmaster rating. And she also helped Hungary end Soviet dominance by winning the 1988 Women's Chess Olympiad alongside her sisters and a teammate. And earlier this year, her remarkable journey reached a global audience with the release of a Netflix documentary as well. She is yet to respond reportedly about whether she is going to choose that position or not. But if she accepts, it's quite an extraordinary story, and Hungary could soon have a president whose greatest victories were won on the chessboard. In a move that's already sparking a lot of controversy, Israel has approved a rule change that could pave the way for crocodiles to be used as part of prison security. The decision came after Environmental Protection Minister reclassified crocodiles from wild animals to captive bred wildlife, a change that would allow security agencies to keep the reptiles under specific conditions. The move comes months after the National Security Minister proposed surrounding prisons with crocodiles to deter escape attempts. Not just that, he welcomed the decision in a social media post, sharing an AI-generated image of himself holding a crocodile on a leash with the caption that was visible. Israeli media report the minister intends to deploy crocodiles around a prison in southern Israel, where many Hamas militants allegedly were captured after the October 7, 2023 attacks. In fact, The proposal, inspired by Florida's so-called Alligator Alcatraz immigration detention facility, had previously drawn opposition as well from the Israel Nature and Parks Authority. This new regulation, signed into law on Wednesday earlier, transfers oversight of captive-bred crocodiles from the Israel Nature and Parks Authority to designated security bodies, including the Israel Prison Service. Under the new rules, Nile crocodiles may be bred and kept if authorities determine that they are needed for security purposes and provided safeguards are in place to prevent the animals from escaping into the wild. According to Israel's Channel 13, reportedly, the changes have been met with ridicule by several prison service officers when the minister first floated the idea last year. The rule change has reignited the debate over the use of animals for security and the government's increasingly hardline approach towards prison management. US President Donald Trump finding himself at the center of a series of rather awkward moments on football's biggest stage on Sunday. The American president was booed by thousands of fans, not once but twice. How embarrassing. And he was also part of another awkward moment during the presentation ceremony. The drama unfolded at the stadium in New Jersey, where Spain edged Argentina 1-0 in extra time to lift that trophy. But before a ball was even kicked, Trump was booed when his face appeared on the big screen, right after Jennifer Hudson's national anthem performance. But that was not all. He was booed yet again, this time when he was walking onto the pitch with the FIFA president for the trophy ceremony. The noise level jumped sharply the moment he stepped out. Not just that, Trump attempted to stand with the Spanish team at the side of the podium as they celebrated. He refused to move away during what was a special moment for the players, for the squad and their supporters. It was awkward to say the least. In fact, it was the FIFA chief who was then forced to usher the US president away. It was just an embarrassing repeat of what unfolded at last summer's Club World Cup final at the same stadium when Trump presented the trophy to the champions Chelsea and tried to crash the celebrations. And the FIFA World Cup might be over, but the controversies do not end. New Jersey governor, reportedly, his office has criticized FIFA's decision reportedly to sell pieces of the 2026 World Cup final pitch. Now, that could generate over $11 million for FIFA, reportedly. In fact, Messi and Rodri graced the pitch on Sunday, remember, and that grass is now being sold, reportedly, in a move that is facing some backlash. Prices ranging from $450 to $3,000. The full sellout could bring in more than $11 million in revenue for FIFA, opening up another revenue stream for the global governing body. Remember, FIFA also opened up the pre-World Cup final press conference to fans who were willing to pay. The problem, according to the New Jersey governor's office, is that taxpayers footed the bill for that grass in the first place. In fact, herself attended the World Cup final on Sunday. The New Jersey Sports and Exposition Authority saying it spent more than $13 million designing, building, maintaining the field to meet FIFA standards. And now Cheryl argues that the state of New Jersey deserves a cut of any profit. A spokesperson for the governor also called it the latest quote-unquote move. Money grab, quote-unquote. Meanwhile, FIFA insists the criticism is overblown, saying the sale is being run by the host committee, not FIFA itself, and that FIFA's own cut is a royalty fee of under 5% of the sales and nothing more. on to some offbeat stories that will leave you intrigued. The deepest, darkest enigmas of our universe are finally stepping into the light, it seems. The James Webb Space Telescope has captured a groundbreaking cosmic breakthrough, piercing the veil of deep space to solve a multi-decade paradox. Astronomers have finally uncovered how the most destructive monsters in existence sustain their terrifying growth. Take a look.
Imagine a place where gravity becomes so powerful that the laws of everyday physics begin to break down. A place where planets and even stars can be torn apart. Where entire clouds of gas disappear forever. Where even light cannot escape. That is a black hole. Black holes are among the most mysterious objects in the universe. They are invisible because they emit no light. Scientists detect them only through their enormous gravitational pull and the effect they have on the matter around them. The largest of them all are supermassive black holes. These cosmic monsters sit at the center of almost every large galaxy, including our own Milky Way. Some contain millions, even billions of times the mass of our Sun. For decades, astronomers have struggled with one fundamental question. How do these giants continue growing when they often blast away the very gas they need to survive? The answer has remained one of astronomy's greatest mysteries until now. Using the James Webb Space Telescope, scientists have discovered that the violent winds produced around a feeding black hole do not simply push material away into space. Instead, much of that gas cools down, slows down, and falls back towards the black hole. It is a remarkable cosmic recycling system. Rather than starving themselves, supermassive black holes are effectively recycling part of their own fuel supply. The discovery explains how these objects can remain active for millions of years, steadily consuming gas while continuing to shape the evolution of entire galaxies. It also changes the way scientists understand the relationship between black holes and the galaxies surrounding them. Far from being simple cosmic destroyers, black holes may also regulate how galaxies grow by controlling the movement of gas, the raw material needed to create new stars. Bureau Report, WION The World is One.
There was a time when Goa's first monsoon showers were announced by deep rhythmic croaks of Indian bullfrogs. The sound immortalized in Konkani nursery rhymes as well, wedding ballads, now seems to be fading. The Indian bullfrog has become increasingly scarce. In fact, bullfrogs are under peril because of a multiple range of reasons. Declining wetlands, agricultural fields with a rapid urbanization, and also indiscriminate use of agrochemicals has accelerated the decline of the species. Erratic rainfall patterns with long dry spells have added to the pressure on bullfrogs. Despite protection under the Wildlife Protection Act 1972, bullfrogs have been incessantly poached and their meat continuously being sold as jumping chicken in the eateries around the region, reportedly. Ecologists describe the frogs as a sentinel species whose health reflects conditioning of the wider ecosystem. Their decline can trigger an increase in pest population, greater reliance on chemical pesticides, disruption in food chain, ultimately affecting just about everything from agriculture to human life. Time now to get you one of the most powerful images of the day. Take a look. hundreds of jubilant football fans celebrated at New York's iconic Times Square as Spain beat Argentina to be crowned world champions, winning the FIFA World Cup for a second time. And as we wrap up, here's a look at some major events set to shape headlines around the world over the next 24 hours. The Indian president, who arrived in Moldova for a historic state visit, will visit North Macedonia on Tuesday, and she will be holding bilateral talks with her counterpart, address the assembly as well as the India-North Macedonia Business Forum. This will be the first ever visit by an Indian president to North Macedonia. The Lebanese president is expected to meet the US president at the White House on Tuesday to discuss ways to consolidate the ceasefire in the country. This will mark the first visit, in fact, by a Lebanese head of state to America in 17 years. A delegation from the European Parliament's Committee on Foreign Affairs, led by David McAllister, will arrive in China on Thursday for high-level meetings with the Chinese authorities amid growing geopolitical uncertainty. The committee will visit China, will visit Beijing as well as Shanghai, in fact. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Gravitas Tonight. This is me, Molly Gambhir, signing off. Thanks very much for watching.
Elections, alliances, controversies, and power play. Stories that analyze global and domestic politics. A dedicated show with varied perspectives, expert take, citizens' voices, detailed ground reports, and in-depth coverage from political corridors of the world. This is Race to Power, only on WION.
Know more, understand better, think ahead. Hello and a very warm welcome. You are watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Get the facts, not the bombast. On the 26th of March, dynamic pricing, Baloch separatists, Gravitas cuts out the clutter. Gravitas keeps calm when others scream. Gravitas brings news to life. Weekdays, 9 PM IST, 3:30 PM GMT. Gravitas. Seeing is believing.
Get the latest updates. Breaking news. Credible, clear, continuous. Experts across aisles. Diverse voices, one platform. WION World is one.
WION, India's global voice. The channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.
The Israeli drone is above our heads all the time in Lebanon. More than 200,000 civilian homes have been destroyed. This looks like it used to be a toy for a little girl. Can't but wonder while I'm walking between all of this rubble, how many lives were destroyed, how many kids were traumatized, how many women lost their families. If this isn't a war crime, then what is? From the southern suburb of Beirut, I'm Radi Francis for WION. World is one.
Know more, understand better, think ahead. Hello and a very warm welcome. You are watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Get the facts, not the bombast. On the 26th of March, dynamic pricing, Baloch separatists, Gravitas cuts out the clutter. Gravitas keeps calm when others scream. Gravitas brings news to life. Weekdays, 9 PM IST, 3:30 PM GMT. Gravitas. Seeing is believing.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.
Campaigns, elections, alliances, controversies, and power play. Stories that analyze global and domestic politics. A dedicated show with varied perspectives, expert take, citizens' voices, detailed ground reports, and in-depth coverage from political corridors of the world. This is Race to Power, only on WION.
You're watching Beyond Pulse. I'm Shreya Upadhyay. Up next, we get you all that is making headlines here in India and across the world. First up, a quick look at the top stories of this hour. The Ministry of External Affairs says 4 Indian nationals have lost their lives and another is in a critical condition after their ship came under attack while leaving the Ukrainian port city of Odessa on the 19th of July. Yemen's Houthi rebels have announced that they are imposing a maritime embargo against Saudi Arabia in response for a recent attack on the Sana'a port. Iranians wave flags as they form a human chain along the coastline of the port city of Bandar Abbas near the Strait of Hormuz. Iran says it will not allow the vital strait to be used by its foes to threaten the country's security. In India, police used tear gas and batons to stop supporters of protesters, mainly youngsters, from marching to the parliament to demand the education minister's resignation. The government meets the movement's leaders, assuring to look into their demands. India signals that the 1960 Indus Waters Treaty in its current form is finished, tying any revival to a fundamental shift in Pakistan's behavior on cross-border terrorism.
I will bring forward a new plan for Britain, a 10-year plan, laying out a path from where we are now to where I believe we all want Britain to be.
New UK Prime Minister Andy Burnham vows to put forward a 10-year plan for Britain, saying that the country needed to make politics work. Heavy rainfall in Chile has killed 5 people and destroyed or severely damaged over 1,000 homes, pushing the government to declare a state of emergency. Spain's World Cup winning team return home, where the 26-man squad meets with Spanish royals before boarding an open-top bus for a ruckus parade through the central Madrid. Thousands of fans will greet them as they travel down Madrid's historic avenues. Over the past 1 week, the conflict between the United States and Iran has gone from a simmering tit-for-tat to an all-out war. Tehran has declared a full-scale war with Washington. This, remember, even as the U.S. military admits that it has lost 3 soldiers in the latest showdown. Iran has kept up its own retaliatory strikes across the region in response, with its Revolutionary Guards announcing that they have hit targets in Bahrain, Jordan and Syria. In the latest video released by the IRGC, it claims that Iranian missiles targeted American military aircraft that were stationed at